Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the University Catholic Center. Father Jonathan Rea, the chaplain here, and it's a great privilege tonight to welcome our final speaker of our speaker series for this semester, Ana Cristina Gonzalez. She is amazing, and so excited to hear her talk in witnessing of her work at Community First Village, but also just excited to have her here because she is a dear friend and part of my group of dear friends from our time here at the University Catholic Center. So it's great to welcome her back officially in this capacity. She's also a member of our Leadership Council and has been a tremendous asset and value to me just in helping me take on this role as chaplain here at the UCC in the last couple of years. So I'm going to let Maria do the official intro, and then I'll say a prayer for Ana before she starts.
Okay, Ana Cristina is proud to serve as Chief Goodness Officer of Mobile Loaves and Fishes, which includes leading the organization's relationships and giving, in communications, community empowerment, and education teams, collaboratively known as MLF's Goodness Team. This core team focuses on evangelizing the organization's vision and mission in all that they do to bring greater awareness to the vital work of Mobile Loaves and Fishes in our community. Ana Cristina has spent her entire career working in nonprofits. She is a builder of relationships, community, and teams that revolve around strong visions and missions, working to make the world a better place. During her time as COO at St. William Catholic Church, she oversaw the day-to-day operations of the largest parish in the diocese. One of her career highlights was overseeing the construction of a 37,000 square foot building while also spearheading a restructuring of the organization. Ana Cristina was the first female and also the first Hispanic COO in the Diocese of Austin. Ana Cristina holds a Bachelor of Science in Human Development and Family Sciences from the University of Texas at Austin, as well as a Master of Arts in Communication and Leadership Studies from Gonzaga University. She is a lover of all things leadership and strives to bring that learning to her teams, peers, and community to build stronger relationships and organizations. Ana Cristina lives in Austin, and when she's not working hard to make the world a better place, she's working hard to make sure she is the best Thea to her nieces.
Thanks, Maria. So I'll call Ana Cristina up and we'll say a prayer for her. Awesome. Let's pray in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we praise you and thank you for your daughter, Ana Cristina, whom you love. Thank you for the witness of her love for you and for your people, and particularly, Lord Jesus, for the love that she has for your image in the poor, who teach us so much about you and about how to love. We thank you for the talk that she is to give tonight. We thank you for the work of Mobile Loaves and Fishes and Community First Village in our community. We ask you to send your Holy Spirit upon Ana Cristina, anoint her mind and her heart and her lips, and anoint our hearts and our ears as we listen. Calm any fears and anxieties in her heart and help us to receive from her what you desire for us to receive tonight. And we ask your blessing upon her, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let's welcome Ana Cristina Gonzalez.
Thank you. So if I start off here in this beautiful sanctuary with Texas, Texas. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's an alumni. Nobody else is gonna respond. I'll try it again. Texas, Texas. Come on, y'all. We have the best location on all of campus here. And to say that I am not only proud to be here with you guys, but also honored to be with you guys is an understatement. It is not lost on me that all those years ago, when I was here as a student, and to be back here today, and Father Jonathan being the director, my best friend, ride or die, Peace staff head that I met is here, and also these other friends that I have made through this journey. It's just very much a full circle moment, and I'm really, really glad to be here. As you heard in my bio, I've done a couple of things since graduating from the University of Texas, and all of it really started here. So when UT came out with their logo, or their catchphrase of "What starts here changes the world," I thought, where was that when I was a student? Because that is just exactly what I think I discovered here. Here is where I met God, where God and my faith and my relationship with Him became mine. I grew up Catholic all my life. We were at Mass every Sunday. We did all the things, but here is where I fell in love. Here is where I began to just really dive into my faith, to the church. And here is where I met probably the strongest community that I was ever blessed to know, that has carried me in so many ways throughout all the different phases of my life. And so it's good to be here, and I hope that is something that resonates with you all. I hope some of that is why you're here listening today, coming to talk today with me about how we can learn so much about community from the homeless. But before I start with that, I remember when my mom used to ask, well, what are you going to do when you grow up? Like, what are you going to do when you graduate? What are you going to do? And I said, Mom, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to do it. I'm going to save the world. And she would always tell me, like, why don't you just start with, like, this little piece here or where you're at? And I said, no, that's too small. Like, we gotta save the world. Let's go out there. Let's do this. And I grew up in a small town, Bishop, Texas. My graduating class was 81 people. I was the only person from my graduating class that came to UT. And then I was attending classes in auditoriums that held more people than the population of my town, right? And I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved it so, so much. And I loved walking around campus, and I loved being in Austin, and I loved coming to church and seeing everyone coming together to worship, and everybody just like being on fire. And it was amazing. And the friends that I made here continue to be people that I can count on and call and rely on to this day. And the more that I speak to people, I know that's not always the case. So I recognize how important community was, even when I was here, the only person at times feeling alone, but knowing that I could always enter into the space and be in community with people. So I came here. I got invited to the Longhorn Awakening. I'm ready for the gasp. I went on Longhorn Awakening 24. What are y'all on, like 3,900 or something? Don't tell me. I went on Longhorn Awakening. When I met Father Jonathan, we were both speakers. We met on a speaker retreat. I gave the Palanca talk, the best talk. And, and so from there, I got involved with the mission trip, the spring break mission trip. And during those days, we were going to Arteaga, Mexico, right? And I'll never forget Michelle Goodwin, our beloved campus minister. You know, I'm the type of person that if I'm not in front of you guys, I'm going to be in the back causing trouble, like maybe like over there. And so that's where I was, in the back. And Michelle's like, you know what, Ana Cristina, I think I have a role for you in this next mission trip. I was like, well, what do you mean? She goes, I don't know, let's talk about it. And I was just only reflecting on this a little, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I really think that was my first fundraising job, because she wanted to create an opportunity for us to engage people outside of the UCC with raising money for the mission trip so that we could take supplies, clothes, toys, all these things with us. And that was the first year that we did it, and I loved it. And of course I went to Arteaga, and it was amazing. And that kind of started to stir in me, like, wow, okay, there are so many different worlds outside of the world that I know. And also just as much as we were told we were there going to serve, how much we were served while we were there. We worked hard. That first year, we worked real hard. But every time, just the families that we met, the people that we met, everything was always coming back to hospitality, to building community, to just doing good things together. So I did that for a few years. I ended up leading that mission trip for the next couple of years. And I would also say that Michelle saw something in me that said, you can do this. You could be a leader. And I thought, maybe I can. Okay, let's try this out in other spaces. And so here's where I felt I was first seen as a leader, and I was first able to take some kind of role in my faith and also bringing others closer to the faith. And so when I graduated, my first job was with communities and schools, and I worked with a grant that worked with kids on an East Side Elementary School that had 2 different housing projects that fed into it. And my job was to meet with those kids that lived in those housing projects during the day, but then after school, I would go and provide after school support, homework help, snacks, all that fun stuff. Father Jonathan I brought my community with me again. I was like, you're coming and you're gonna help with these kids and help them with their homework. What I quickly realized, though, in that situation is that these kids, if they didn't come to after school club with me, they probably weren't gonna do their homework because they probably didn't have a place to do their homework. If these kids didn't get snack from me, they probably weren't gonna eat that night. And if my friends hadn't come, or if I wasn't there, and we didn't set out the tables and we didn't sit out the chairs, they probably didn't have a place in which to do their homework or to eat. And when that realization started to happen with me, like I would go home to my apartment in a gated community, and I would just sit and stare at the wall and say, why? Like, why? And I'd be like, God, why? Why do these kids not get to have a meal? Why do these kids rely on strangers for support? And why do these kids not have a safe place to be? And so I sat in that space, I would say, for a few weeks, and then I said, okay, I'm not gonna ever understand that. We can go down the systemic issues, we can go down politics, we can go down all of these ways, and then I thought, but what am I gonna do about it? What can I do about it? And it really started to put together some of these different scripture verses or these prayers that we would always be saying at my house, or that my mom would remind us of. And it's like, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think when you first hear it, you're like, wait, that's not why do I have to do more just because I have more? And I think that just brings us back to the gospel, right? Just brings us back to the example of Jesus. But to whom much is given, much is expected. Because I was blessed to be born into the family and into the circumstances and I can list and list and list. That means I have a responsibility to bring others with me too. I have a responsibility to shine a light in these spaces that maybe there is no one there to shine a light on. I'm responsible for making sure that somehow we are doing something to make things better. And so that really guided me in my work with communities and schools. And as you heard, my whole life has been in nonprofit because I think that we have a lot of opportunities in which to make things better in this world. And if we unite with folks that are able to do it or have a great cause, we can make things better. So from communities and schools, I was there for 7 years. I came here as development director for the University Catholic Center, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is my dream job. I get to talk to people and raise money for the place that changed my life, right? The place where it all started. And again, brought my community with me. Let's go, guys. I know it's been a while. Let's go back. We're grown-ups now. We have a little more cash in our pocket. We can make carbos happen with the best pasta this time, or we can make everything. Like I brought my community with me. Like, let's go. Let's make this good. Let's make sure kids have the opportunity to have the same experience that we did, that this continues. And from here, went to the cathedral, and from the cathedral, we can blame Father Jonathan that I went to St. William. Remember, you bring your community with you, but then your community will call in favors too. And so it's not just one way. And so I would say, Father Jonathan called one day. He's like, I don't know what to do with this event. Please help me. And I was like, Jonathan, I'm in the middle of my cathedral event. I can't do this. He's like, please just come to one meeting. And I was like, okay, I'll go to one meeting. I'll decipher everything for you, and then you got to handle it. But again, he brought his community to come and help him, right? And I did. And then the pastor showed back up one day, and the rest is history. I was offered a job to be at the largest parish in the diocese, and very quickly after I started, we started a campaign to raise money for the building that you heard described, about a $9-10 million campaign. And then I again brought my community with me. And this time with St. William, what was different is that they really helped me remind me of who I am when things got really hard or things got really crazy. A lot of my friends lived up close to St. William, so we would see each other on masses of the weekend. But every piece, there was community. My community was there. I was there for my community. Like we were in it. And so when it came time to discern, all right, here I'm at the largest parish, I've done a lot, what's next? And Mobile Loaves and Fishes called. And again, I will say that was my community, because the person who called me was the development director that was here before I took the job. And when she heard I was looking, she said, AC, people call me AC. AC, I need somebody who's done comms, and I was like, check. Fundraising, check. Volunteerism, check, because if you work in nonprofit, you do everything, right? Do everything, you guys. It pays off in the end, especially when you're young. Just use that energy to learn all the things, because then you become indispensable. And when you have a growing organization that is looking for somebody to oversee that wide range of things, they know where to look. And I thought, yes, this is the next thing, right? But what I didn't know is, as I've been talking, I thought I knew it all about community. I knew my community, I knew my friends, I knew the people who showed up, and all the amazing ways that, we built these relationships and how we helped each other. And I will say that my first week, my first days of working at Mobile Loaves and Fishes, I said to Amber and to Alan, I was like, I've never felt closer to the gospel in my whole life. And to have worked in the church and to have worked in spaces where faith, everything was so close, but to see it lived out at Community First Village really was eye-opening for me. And so when you hear Chief Goodness Officer, it's a really cool title. But the way that I have been able to kind of come to terms with it, because people are like, that's the best title in the world. And I think it's a lot of pressure to be goodness all the time. But what I come to this with is I get to work with a team that evangelizes the work of Community First Village. My team goes out and tells the story of all the amazing things that are happening there and invites people in to get invested and to be there. And so I went to Mobile Loaves and Fishes, and I really saw what community can look like for those who have experienced such trauma, such sadness, such pain in their lives, and be able to find a safe place where they can have a community of their own and just be themselves. So at Mobile Loaves and Fishes, we believe that the leading cause of homelessness is a catastrophic loss of family. So if you think about that, something happened in that person's life that severed one of the most important relationships to the point that it could not be healed, or you could not go and get help. It was not a safe place. Something severed that relationship so badly that they didn't have anywhere to go. And I know that if we all think, and I'm making a generalization, but I can also speak to myself. If I had something so bad happen to me, I know I have a community, my family that can come around me. I have friends that would be there in a second, have been there in a second, that are gonna make sure that I'm okay. But if you think about our homeless brothers and sisters, something severed that. And so what we do is we have provided a space where the homeless can begin to rebuild those relationships. Maybe not with the person they were severed with, but they can begin to forge their family there at the village. How many of you guys have been on a truck run or have know about Mobile Loaves and Fishes or Community First? Yes, yes, yes. Mikey. I'm going to call you out in a minute. So you guys know, you've seen, you've experienced the going out and feeding of our homeless brothers and sisters. And that's how it started, right? Alan Graham went on a retreat, and he came out so inspired, so moved, saying, I'm going to go out and feed my neighbors. I'm going to go out, and I want to love these people, and I want to make sure that they are fed. And he and his friends, 6 friends, green minivan, you'll hear this all the time, but green minivan went out and started to feed people sandwiches that they made. And then it grew into a catering truck that they purchased. Then it grew into lifting one person off of the street into an RV park. And then now we're sitting on 2 phases that are almost built out. Right, Mike? Mike's here. He's our senior director of construction and maintenance. Also an alum, Hookham, which is why he was hired, because those are the best. So we have 2 phases right now. We'll be finished out by the end of the year. And we just announced at the end of last year that we have land for phases 3 and 4. When it is all finished, we will have homes for 1,400 men and women who have experienced homelessness. And if you think of the impact that that has, 1,400 is a big number. But if you just think about that one person when they were first lifted off the street, what that meant, and how that inspired this whole movement, it's pretty phenomenal. And again, it reminds me back to what my mom says is like, just concentrate on your little part of the world, Anna. Like, just stick here. That'll be good enough. And I think about where I am now, and I'm like, yeah, when you're led by the Holy Spirit, when you are determined in where you're being, where you're going to be serving people, like, it can just start to happen. Now, this didn't happen in a minute. It didn't happen in 2 years. It took a while. But that steadfast, that perseverance, despite all of the people saying this is not a good idea, has evolved into this movement of really trying to bring people into community. So how do we see community at the Village? I had one of my really good friends out today with their school, and he's probably been out there like 3 times, and he can give the best tours. He knows all the things. But he brought his students from his school there, and what they experienced walking around, who they got to meet, a neighbor was giving them the tour, but also because Father Jesse also made his community already there. I don't know how he did it so fast, but he can just go into any of the buildings and people know who he is. That's easy at the Village. I drive the golf cart into different things, and people are like, Anna, what's going on? Hey, how's it going? And I've had people on my tour say, how do you know all of these people's names? And I'm like, because this is what we do. We get to know each other. These are our friends. These are our neighbors. Now, if you ask me if I know what my neighbors' names are where I live, I met one yesterday. Her name's Judith. I know one person's name in my neighborhood, but I know a lot of people at the Village. And we got to see how that community, not only there are relationships that they knew from when they were on the streets, but then there are relationships that they have built there. And so when we went through Snowmageddon, when we went through all of this weird weather, neighbors knew, I haven't seen Eli in a while, can you go check on him? You know what, Penny, we haven't really seen her, is she doing okay? You know what, there's some propane out in this home, can you help? Along with our staff, like, people are watching out for one another. And it's not the perfect neighborhood, right? These are human beings too. Like, just like we have drama in our neighborhoods, there's drama there, and it's smaller. So sometimes it can be like, oh, they're struggling again, they're fighting again, or, you know, same as everywhere else. But what is there is mercy, grace, and forgiveness. We're not trying to put anybody in a box. We're not trying to force anybody to do anything. We're providing a safe space, and from there, they're able to form their life as they want there at the Village. My first week, when anybody asked me, what is it, how is it, like, what's going on? And I just said, there is such dignity that is taking place there. There is such dignity that happens. And they're like, what do you mean by dignity? And I said, do you know that there is nothing used that shows up in somebody's house when they first move in? It's a brand new table. It's a brand new mattress. We get to know our neighbors before they move in, and they have their favorite stuff on the walls, favorite colors. Nothing is used because our God is a God of abundance. And then my second day there, a neighbor passed away, and she was a well-known neighbor. And they said, come on, AC, we're going. Like, we're going to pray them out. And I said, what does this mean? And they said, come on, we got to pray them out. So we walked to this neighbor's home, and there was already a huge crowd outside. and the coroner was there, and as they were bringing out this neighbor's body, people were praying and singing and telling stories. And I thought, what would have happened if she didn't get to live here? What would she have been met with if she would have died on the streets? But her community showed up even on her last day. And so when I say that I've never felt closer to the gospel, like my window looks out over a lot of the property, and I get to see it. Like, I get to see friends laughing, I get to see staff, joking around, but I get to see that people are building relationships, people are safe, they are cared for, and they are treated with dignity and respect. So one of the number one rules at Mobile Loaves and Fishes is that everybody pays rent, right? Everybody's got to have some skin in the game. But we also know that our population is not the one that's probably going to be able to clock in a 9 to 5, whether it's not having access to reliable transportation, whether it's not having the skill set to be able to apply for a regular job. We can list all the ways in which there are a lot of hindrances for people to be able to make their lives better if they have low income, if they don't have access to technology, if they don't have a permanent address. There is a long list. So Community First, we have dignified income opportunities where our neighbors can work in the culinary department, in Genesis Gardens, tending the garden with our staff. Our property beautification, super popular. That's Mike's team. Our art house, which is my favorite, not because I'm a good artist, but because they're amazing artists, and the work that's done there is phenomenal. But people are given a chance. They're given a chance to be able to use their gifts and talents to do those things, right? We're not able to be as entrepreneurial as we want to be if we don't have a permanent address and if we're on the streets. But the artwork that you see in this art house is incredible. You think about the Monets and the Van Goghs, and you think about all those artists that were able to create, had access to those things. We have the 20th century version of that at the Village. Come out and see it. Uta and Jason, they're doing it, man. And to see people being able to come into a space and earn money doing what they love, what more could you ask for? I'm sure that's what you all want to do when you leave here. You want to do something that you love, that you're really good at, and you happen to get a paycheck for, right? And that's what our neighbors get to do as well. And so we've created a space also where there's healthcare that is easily accessible, mental health services that are easily accessible, and we have partnerships with so many folks that want to just come in and off. Like, we have foot doctors that come in, we have veterinarians that come in to help take care of pets. We have so many partnerships of people who just want to come in and to make things accessible to our neighbors who maybe would never have had that before. So I have been able to see community all my life. I've experienced that community. I have felt all of that. I feel like I'm in community every Sunday at Mass, even if I don't know who's sitting next to me. And to see it like this at Mobile Loaves and Fishes just brought it into a space of, oh, this is what God means by dignity. Oh, this is what God means about love your neighbor. Not love the neighbor that you really like, not love the neighbor that thinks like you do, but maybe the neighbor that makes you a little uncomfortable because you're not sure what they're going to say or what they're going to do or how they're going to act, or maybe because they look completely different from you. But this is where I've seen it just come just all together, and how, well, y'all are in Austin. You know, it's been the hot topic for the past year or so. Should they be camping there? Should they not be camping there? Should they be doing this? What's going on? Our stance was, they're still here. Our friends still need our help. Whether we see them, whether they're back in the woods, whether they're somewhere that is not in our face, our neighbors still need our help. And so what are we going to do about that, right? And so during all of this Prop B and all these things that happened, I just thought, is what we're really saying that we don't want to feel uncomfortable seeing someone living on the street? Are we saying that I don't want to see that, like, that bothers me, so maybe make it go away? And I think that that's something that we all have to ask ourselves. But then that's the next thing. Like, what's next? What are we going to do to make it better? Because we can make it go away, we can look away, we can turn away, but it's still there. And what are we called to do as Catholics in a situation like this? And I have this conversation a lot with people, and I was like, man, I wonder what Jesus would do in this situation. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, would Jesus lean in or would he lean back? And they're like, well, he would lean in. I was like, right. So why are we leaning back? Like, why are we turning away? We've got to recognize the dignity of our brothers and sisters. Those brothers and sisters who are struggling, who have issues that we don't understand, are still sons and daughters of God. And because we have what we have a responsibility to amplify that and be the voice that they don't have. And so how do we use our voice in which to help? And right now I'm talking about homelessness. So I will be plugging Community First this whole time. Come out and see us, come out and take a tour, go out on a truck run. Jocelyn's doing amazing things with this. Like, Father Jonathan comes out and celebrates Mass. I think a group of people came out for the Village of Lights, which is going to be better than ever this year. So come out for Village of Lights. You can buy artwork. But what are you going to do? Because by the mere fact that you're able to sit in this space, you have choices. You can decide what you want to do for yourself and for others. You have a voice. You get so much more because you're in this space, but it cannot just stay here. So when the priest or the deacon says, go out and be the gospel, it's not go out and be the gospel in the narthex with all the people who just received Jesus with you, and then we go outside and then we don't like, I don't know, somebody in line on the food truck and they ordered something that we don't agree with. Like, no. Yes, it's fun to have the friends in the narthex, but it's across the street. It's in the six-pack. Do y'all still call it the six-pack? It's on the drag. It's on, those are the places that we're called to go out and be the gospel. And when we begin to other people, them over there, they think like that. I don't agree because he went to A&M. I don't think, like, I don't hang out with, that's when we start losing the dignity. That's when we start losing the folks that need us to lean into most. This is not easy. This is not for the weak, but this is what we're called to do. Our faith is a radical faith. There is nowhere in the gospel that you read that Jesus was chilling, rest. Well, you hear him rest, and that's important. You must rest. But that he's just chilling and like, oh, I'm not really going to talk about that today. He did not do that. And we are not called to do that. But you have to find your space. You have to find your way, and you have to find where it is that you can do the most with that. Because it's not going to be in homelessness. There may be other spaces that you feel called to serve, and that is awesome and amazing, and go and do it. Because we need more of y'all out in the world. We need more of your heart and your faith. And don't forget that when you leave UT, you find your next church and you go and be that in your church. Even if there's a 90-year-old person in the front row who's been there for like 90 years and they look at you funny because you're sitting in their spot, you still belong there. We need your voices there. Get on the parish council. Get on the finance council. Do the bulletin. You learn a lot of things when you do the bulletin. I see head nodding. But we need you guys there. This is not a space where we take a break after we're here and we go. We lose so many of our youth after college, and it is so sad because you're the energy that we need. All the things that you want to change in this church, in this world, not teachings, guys. It's okay. I'm not going to talk about change the teachings. But you have to be, you are the church. You are the church. And we need the church to be strong, to be involved, and as Pope Francis would say, get loud, right? Because if you are not taking care, if you're not stewarding it well, we're going to lose it. And you are part of carrying it on. So that goes right back to my community. Who are the people bringing you closer to God? Who are the people pushing you towards maybe making a little bit of difference, saving the world in your spot? Those are the people you surround yourself with. But then you also go out and create that community with those who don't have a voice, who don't have a safe place to be, and you give them that hope and that love and that just that desire to know that maybe it can get better day by day by day. So again, it is not lost on me that I get to come back here and talk about community where it all really began for me. Super proud of what happens here because I know that the university says what happens here changes the world, but what I've seen here is what is going out and changing the world for families, for communities, and for churches. So thank you for having me here. Father Jonathan, so bad. He says that I should leave some time for questions. So who has some questions? Oh, but I will tell you that I'm not telling any stories about Father Jonathan when he was in university. We have made a deal. So we don't talk about toga, we don't talk about 6th Street, we don't talk about any of that. Because he has the same stories about me. But are there any questions that you guys have? Or oh, okay.
I appreciated your talk. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You had said something I'd never heard before, that the people in your community, the homeless, are often people who have experienced, or almost always people who have experienced a severance from their families. I usually, when I read about the homeless, read about substance abuse, alcoholism, I read about economic hardship or mental illness. Mm-hmm. So could you kind of talk a little more about what kind of family separations we're talking about?
Absolutely. And that's a really good question. So when we talk about a catastrophic loss of family, it can be that initial family, the mother-father relationship that was there, or maybe that wasn't present, that set a course for someone's life in a different way. We talk about it in the sense of if there was a divorce and someone was left if there was a breadwinner and the other person did not have a job or was not, needing to get a job or earn a paycheck, and then all of a sudden they're supposed to. We see that something altered whatever a normal start to life, that everyone should have someone that is caring, nurturing, loving, all of that, but something stunted that. So it can be from the beginning, it can be from a relationship later on, it can be from something or trouble that they got into. And then what we find is that some of the symptoms can become mental health, getting caught in the mental health system. That is not great. Sometimes homelessness can be caused by a catastrophic health event, and they can't afford to pay those bills, and then that leads to a life of homelessness. And I think the point in that is that with any hardship, a lot of us can go somewhere to get the help that we need, because I can get on the internet, I can get on my phone, I can get on anything to be able to get the help that I need. But how does somebody who doesn't have the resources get to access that? And so finding that information, or even not even knowing where to begin, which then leads to more destructive behavior, or if you're out on the street, a lot of violence, a lot of trauma, a lot of different things happen which just further get you away from any kind of stability. So there's definitely addiction, there's definitely mental health issues, but something altered that path to lead to that. Sometimes it starts with that, right? Like there's a drug issue that people lose their money and they can't get out from under it. But even if those with mental health issues, sometimes people their family doesn't know how to care for them. The family cannot provide the care that is needed for them. And so it just becomes this cycle of running into broken systems. And so that's what we have found, right? So that's a really good point. So complicated. I want to solve that one, but it's complicated. Yeah. She asked, sorry, Maria, she is very loud. How do we choose who gets a house? So there is a process, there is a way that people, they work with a caseworker, there's an application process, and the very simple way that I know is that there must be proof of homelessness in Austin for at least a year, and then to enter into housing, your caseworker will help you, like make sure you have Social Security, Medicaid, things like that, some kind of income to at least have something to start to pay your rent. And then once you're at the village, you can earn dignified income in these different ways. Yeah. Do you know more? I bet you know more. No, this is not transitional. Great question. We get that on our tour a lot. Like, is this transitional housing? Like, how long do you let people stay here? No. If people want to make that their forever home, it is their forever home. It is not transitional. We have folks that choose to be buried there. We have a columbarium. That is where they find their home, they find their community, and that is where they want to be laid to rest. And so it's awesome. Yeah. I didn't plant that. Yes.
How do you keep your ideals of like building community I can't hear. Okay, sorry. Okay. How do you keep the ideals of building a community like throughout the village as it grows? Because I feel like it's easier when it's like a small group of people to like keep that community feeling, but when it gets bigger, it can almost feel like it's just another person or another statistic.
Are you in our staff meetings right now? that is the, I know. Wait, it's coming. Just wait. It's gonna. she did this, and I'm about to go like this. That is number one on our concern list right now, because it's impossible to do it by ourselves. So we need the community to help us multiply the ways that we're able to engage and able to create that feeling of the forged family, to having people come out there and just making sure that everyone feels a connection to somebody else at the village. We're doing a lot of hiring. I don't know what y'all's graduation dates are. We're doing a lot of hiring. Mike's pretty good, so yeah, go work for Mike. Except he put a fake cockroach on my desk this week, so I don't know if there's job hazards. There are job hazards. And so we're doing a lot of hiring. We're preparing. I think that this is the first time. So phases 1, 2, and 3 are all in the same area. Phase 4 is 15 minutes away off of Burleson. We're really concerned about that, because that not only means neighbors are not connected, but the staff is going to be separated. And we have seen, so I've been at Mobile Loaves and Fishes for 1.5 years, and Monday was my second in-person staff meeting. So think about that. Like, I have not been in a room with my coworkers for over a year, but what has COVID done to the community as a whole? And then how can we come back together, build this up, make it stronger and better, and do it remotely? Let me tell you, the chiefs are that's what we talk about a lot. And we know it's just gonna take intentionality. Those core values that we hold, those things that are really important. We empower communities into a lifestyle with the homeless. The community is essential to making that successful. Yes.
I'm still kind of working through this question, so I apologize if it doesn't make sense.
No worries.
But from my time visiting at Community First, I wonder how you guys work with this dynamic between, I know that most people that live there are adults, and so you want to give them the freedom and to make them feel like this is their home, but at the same time, they've lived alone for so long, so like I guess the rules, the social norms that we're used to following are very different for them.
Yeah.
So then how do you balance this idea of like personal liberty, this is your life, and also you're in a community, you need to follow or abide by certain rules, certain norms in order for this to work?
Right. Really good question. So there are not a lot of rules that would be very different than any place that we live. Everyone signs a lease, everyone has these agreements about, don't throw trash on your yard, don't do this, and if you have a pet, this is what happens, and blah, blah, blah. So it's not different in that sense. Everyone is expected to follow the law, right? And and some people, it's an issue for some people, but we also have really great staff, our neighbor care staff, our property management staff that can kind of walk along people. And we have Neighbor 101 classes, so for new people that have moved in, it's an opportunity to get to know other new neighbors, as well as learn more in depth about the community. Like, hey guys, the art house is back there. Go talk to Carlos. Did you know there's a library right across the way over here? And Saturdays, you get fresh chicken eggs and organic farm food. Like, it's all for you. So it's like an orientation and also a way to, again, start to meet new people along with our staff. So there are things put in place to help with that transition. And it's harder for some than others. I mean, when you think about the life, the average age of neighbor that moves in is about 55 years old. And then the other statistic is like the average age of death is about 58, 59 years old. So if you have lived on the street for decades, years, that's a weariness for your health, your mental health. You're coming in already with a lot of issues to address. And these things are set up to help you find ways in which to try to get some of those things handled, fixed, or maybe just even answer a doctor's visit for the first time in 20 years. And so it's, you know, the laws are the laws, but we also have come around folks to be, this is how things work around here. This is where you can get help. This is where you can find support, which is not the same model done for everything. Sometimes people think, just give them a house. Like, oh, here, we'll buy this hotel and you can just live in the hotel. And then all you've got are people who, again, disconnected and don't know where do they get the support services to kind of turn that, you know, shelter is one thing, but we provide a home, right? And the home isn't the physical structure, it's the community that surrounds it. So I think we would do a lot better if we all had communities.
Hi, thank you for your talk. It was very beautiful. I am going into healthcare, so specifically interested in what you were saying about the resources y'all offer to the members that live there, in terms of like healthcare, especially with in the hospitals, seeing a lot of people who experience homelessness, like chronically in the hospital. Yeah. And so do y'all offer like, what does that look like? Do you offer like, I guess, in-house like doctor visits, or are those doctors coming from outside places, or what does that look like?
We have a health clinic on site where doctors and nurses come. I started at MLF during COVID, so I'm just beginning to see some of these things come back online. But we partner with a health clinic, and they provide the doctors and the resources needed for our neighbors to come in and get their appointments. We also partner with mental health services. So those are folks that come in, and it's either, I don't know if we're in a volunteer place with healthcare, but there's a grant. There's grants that we have that we partner with these different foundations that provide these services there. And as we continue to grow our conversations, that is very important in growth, but also in depth of services that our neighbors need. And as well as like, how are we going to make sure that everybody can get to, like, are we going to have clinics at every site? Are we going to have people, like you said, go and visit? Most of the time, it is that our neighbors go to the clinic on site, and then as neighbors are towards their end of their life, hospice does come, and they do provide services there as well. And so it really depends. A lot of times, though, the seriousness of what might need to be dealt with has to be outside of the village, right? And so we're trying to forge those relationships in particular, make them stronger, because we've learned that, I don't think when community first started, that we thought this would be an aging in place issue that we would be seeing. And Mike can even speak to that structurally, like how we've had to adapt ramps, move from stairs to ramps, make them, wheelchair accessible, big enough for that. Like, you'll see a lot. So as we move into the different phases, we're taking those lessons learned because of the population that is moving in with all of their different issues. Yeah. But whenever you're ready for a job, come on over. Oh, yes. We have an on-staff nurse, healthcare, and EMT. Yeah. And we have a really good relationship with Travis County Police Department, too, as well. It's all about relationships.
There's two. Okay. My question for you is, how have you seen homelessness change in Austin over the past couple of even months at this point, and just how's the transition and how does Community First Village like respond to that?
Excellent question. So this whole Prop B thing, so I would say just from when I started going to UT and my interactions with the homeless, and then also how we would go and feed the homeless while we were here, definitely have had experience and exposure to that since college. But I would say in the last few years, 4 or 5 years, definitely have seen an increase. But what I'm still trying to decipher, and just because of numbers and data, is does it feel like it's increasing, or are we just seeing it now? And I'm leaning towards the we're just seeing it now. So when camping on the streets was overturned, look, if I can go get a great view on Lady Bird Lake, that's where I'm putting my tent, right? Like, people came out of the woods, out of these, I mean, not that around Lady Bird Lake isn't a great place to be living as a person, but you're coming out of hiding, which in hiding, that's where assaults can happen. That's where things you just, especially for women, like there are things that, so coming out into the light is safety. But then what did that do? That created a lot of discomfort for people. And we were getting a lot of questions like, what are y'all gonna do about this? Y'all need to build more homes. Hurry up, let's finish. Like you keep talking about these other phases. And I've seen Alan turn this conversation so beautifully. And I'm not as good at that yet because I get fired up too easily. But he's like, that's a really good, he's like, we could build more houses. And he goes, but it's not a me problem, right? He goes, it's a we problem. So what are we going to do to help these men and women with housing, right? Because even if in the woods, right in our face, on the corner, there is still a problem. And it's not going away, so what are we going to do to bring that? So, and I can tell you, Mobile Loaves and Fishes Community First Village is the sweet spot right now, because we are providing an option that is not, hey, go away, you're making me uncomfortable as I go have my coffee, but we're providing a way in which we're saying we are providing shelter, but we are also providing a community to support folks who are dealing with all these multiple issues, right? And okay, so if you want to help solve the problem by donating $100, we will take that, and that's amazing, because we have $30 million left to raise. So tell your friends. But also there's the work, right? There's the come and build relationships, come and see, so that we can continue to do this to help address the issue instead of hiding it in the dark again. So that's my opinion. That is not necessarily endorsed by Mobile Loaves and Fishes. So, but I think that's it. Like, you're uncomfortable, and I'm sorry that you're uncomfortable, but it's also a privilege to be uncomfortable. You get to feel uncomfortable, but our friends who don't have a place to go to the bathroom, to bathe, to lay their head, to know that when they sleep that they're not going to be hurt, I think that's what we need to be focused on.
Thank you again. It's just been really beautiful to just hear your experience and the words that you've been saying. I'm a social work major here, and and I just thought it was very beautiful that one of the first people that these neighbors, these residents encounter is a caseworker, to just listen to them. So I guess my question is, how do these future residents, these neighbors, find you, or how do you find them? Is there an outreach program? Do you work with people out in the community? How does that work?
Churches are a really big resource. I don't know, Jocelyn, if y'all have ever been to Sunrise Church off of South First and Stastny? I don't know. The church network is amazing, okay? There are folks that are doing amazing things with our homeless community, and where they are helping people get to the caseworker, get to the resources, get to whomever. Those catering trucks, those food trucks, we have about 35, 40, right, Mike, maybe, around Austin. And so people know when the truck is coming by, like, oh, Mobile Loaves and Fishes is coming. And so those volunteers that are out serving can talk to folks. We have cards, we have ways in which people can connect to try to get linked to services or to casework and all of that. And then word of mouth, that's really been, because Mobile Loaves and Fishes has been around for almost 25 years. It's a long time. But the people who have never heard of us, which I love, because then I get to talk about it, but you're just like, yeah, those trucks, that's where this started. Like, this is where it came from. And so that community of volunteers that are running those trucks, those folks are the ones also that are just helping spread the word. So all of the ways.
So we have time for one more question.
You said that Jesus rested, and rest is important. And as someone who knows the reality of the situations that some of these people are experiencing, and as someone who knows how much good you are doing and how much you could be doing, how do you prevent yourself from overworking and just rest?
Give the man $1,000. I am not qualified to answer that question. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. I will say that I'm trying to get better, but it's a struggle because you see the need, the urgency, the everything all the time. But I do find comfort of, and then Jesus went away and prayed by himself, right? He has to do a really big thing. He's talking to all the crowds. Everybody wants him to heal, and then you get to hear that he goes off and he even leaves his buddies behind. And I'm like, I get that. Like, I feel that. But also it just teaches us that we have to rely on him before anything. Like, it's not us. Like, if we believe this is truly a ministry, we are called by God to do this, to be this to others, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to. And you also have to know what are those signs that, oh no, I'm getting a little twitchy over here, like this isn't good, but you have to take care of yourself to do this kind of work. Just like you guys, but I know I didn't have to sleep much when I was in college. I have to sleep way more now just to be able to do goodness. But you find your balance, you find your way. Some things are gonna ebb and flow as you move through your college career, through your work career, just like your focus. It's going to be school, then it's going to be family, or it's going to be the new job, or it's going to be whatever it is. But always knowing that if you're not centered in your relationship with God, you are not going to be centered in any of it, right? He holds us steady. He holds us centered. And from that, the goodness flows. But when we start to move away, and then because I know when I get tired, then it's everything bothers me, and everything is an I didn't, and they, and I, that's all about me. It's time to get back to the center. And my community, my friends do that for me, right? That's why Alisa said what she said. Give the man, because she's like, you're tired. So I'm working on it. I'm making progress. I think I'm making progress. Accountability, yeah.
Anna, Christina, and I will both let you know when we figure out how to rest. We both have the same
And
struggle.
there's a crew back there that we could be talking to.
Let's give Anna a hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
So, quick plug. We do have, as you've heard several times, and several people here are doing it already, opportunities to serve, both with Mobile Loaves and Fishes on the truck runs and out at Community First Village, I think right now primarily in the Art House, which is pretty cool. So utcatholic.org/serve. That's the website, or you can talk to Jocelyn. in the atrium afterwards. Thanks so much, everybody. We have Adoration of the Blessed Sacrament at 8 p.m., as always on Thursday nights, so we'll see you in here shortly.